But yeah, no, I'm always super grateful. My name is Jonathan, for anyone who doesn't know me. The host along with A&N Landon, who's not here. But if you guys are in the 2 to 4 unit space and looking to buy, they have an awesome 5% down program. So be sure to grab one of his flyers on the way out, and make sure to use them as your lender, because I've worked with them many times and they do a great job. I'm always super grateful for anyone who made it out here, for any of you guys who actually tuned in online, and for A&N for giving us access to this space. Obviously, it's absolutely beautiful. Our goal is always to help everyone focus on their next step, their most important next step. And so I've always found, for me, usually my next step comes through networking and meeting people and finding the next person. And usually I can find someone who's a little bit ahead of me on my journey and team up with them. And that's just been super beneficial for me. So I've always encouraged everyone, including myself, to continue to get out of your comfort zone and talk to someone that you don't know, because that person could likely be the person you need to take your next step in real estate. So true. The other thing too is I always ask everyone to give a $10 donation, even the youngsters who don't maybe have a full-time job yet. But I'm on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club. So on the Eventbrite link, you can donate $10. It goes to their Youth of the Year program, and basically they get a scholarship at it. So I always ask that everyone give a suggested donation of $10. And then lastly, I always ask one question to see kind of who's in line with what's going on in my life. So for me right now, my biggest problem is focus. The theme of my year was say yes less and do, or say no more. And so I'm wondering if anyone here has anything very specific that they know they need to focus on more than anything else right now in their real estate journey. Anyone can throw anything out. Yes, Alfredo.
Learning about it, so executing those, kind of the process of getting out there and knowing others that are actually doing it. I think that's my biggest goal.
Beautiful. Yeah, networking is honestly one of my steps to success. Educate, learn, followed by networking and taking action. Andy has one other point he wants to let us know about.
Identify with that.
Yeah, so I think focus is probably one of the most powerful things we can do. I know for me, I started a bunch of businesses and then got 20% of all those businesses, opposed to focusing on my one core business. So I've dialed my focus in. I've actually left a lot of the networking groups I started in to dial my focus more. I always give a book away to go along with it. So the one thing is probably one of the most influential and good books about focus. So Alfredo, you get the book. And with that said, I don't think there's anything more important than we can focus on than data, which is why we always have Greystone Realty here to talk about what's going on in Chicago. I'm going to hand it over to Jordan, who can give us a little update on what's going on in the market.
Yay! Woo-hoo, Jordan!
All right, guys. So in case you don't know me, my name is Jordan Warner. I work with Greystone, been with them for about a year now, this month. So really awesome for people. Jennie's with us as well. I think there's about 12 of us, 12 or 13 of us total. So we're the dirty dozen. And really investor focused group, a lot of data. We really work on like knowing our markets, knowing the information, so that we can better serve our clients. So, with that, we're kind of dive into everything. So right now, what we're kind of seeing in the market, still overall decline in Chicago median sales price. We're about 3.8% down year over year, and this year in 2023, we're about 2.6%. You know, that's overall Chicago. There are still neighborhoods that are greater. So it's something really key to know. We'll get into a couple of those here as we go. We are seeing the market time start to pick up and months of supply as well. Both good indicators really for just kind of a market stability perspective. So things starting to re-stabilize as it's, you know, as we kind of work through the year. So we're still seeing major declines in under contract activity, 25% and 14% this year. And then new listings as well, as sellers are not looking to put their properties on the market. They've got really great interest rates right now. So locked in, you know, why leave those interest rates and go for another property. Under contract activity really kind of tells us a lot about buyers that are entering the market and looking for properties. Not all of those under contract properties are going to turn into sold properties, but it's a really good indicator of just strength of the market. And so you kind of see you have a pretty slow market this year. So this one here, this shows the graph for median sales price as rolling 12-month activity. So what's really key here is you see the steep incline coming in through the pandemic, and then the appreciation started to decline. We topped out at about 345,000 for the median sales price. We're down 332,000, which is down 3.8% from last year. What's really key to note is the appreciation rates down at the bottom. So, you know, year to date, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year outlook, or averages, sorry, is really important, because as you're looking at like flips, or you're looking at, you know, buy and hold strategies, whatever strategy you're doing with real estate, this is kind of what you can expect to see. So flips right now are a little bit more challenging. You see that, and you know, 2.6% appreciation, 2023, 3.8% 1 year. But when you start looking out 3 years, 5 years, you know, your sales or your price is more stable.
What is the historical average?
Sorry?
The historical average.
The his-
Because right now it's like July 19 pandemic to 80 something. And then that's like 332,000. Like there's still room for it to like come down. So what's the expectation? At least when the team loads that data, are you expecting to like bottom out what range?
Yeah, so let me see if these next slides answer that question for you. So what we're kind of seeing. So with under contract activity, this next one here, what's really key and really important is you really see the steep decline that we're seeing, that 24% drop in under contract activity. And then you're seeing it start to bottom out here. The very bottom where you see the 24.8%, you start to see a slight trending curve back upwards. And so what we're seeing is potentially we've reached kind of the bottom of this cycle of the market, and we might see prices start to increase again overall. In addition to, you know, buyers that were retreating from the market were retreating because of the interest rates, primarily higher prices, which made things unaffordable. And then we have really low inventory and uncertainty in the market. So all of those things tied into that. Your average here really evens out to be. Well, let me get that. Your economic indicators here, which are really important to pay attention to. Your 30-year fixed mortgage rate, we started to see that decline from 7.14%. Back in May, and we kind of thought, maybe this would be a good trend. We started to see interest rates trend back upwards again, so now we're at the highest rate in 22 years. So since 2002, we're at 7.16 average for the 30-year fix. And then consumer price index is something else that we really want to pay attention to, because that is showing your inflation numbers, or how inflation is impacting the dollar. And so that has started to decline, but you see at June, we started to see that pick back up again. And then this one here is really, I think, to answer your question as far as the seasonal trends and kind of where we see things sitting. So you see the convergence of the 3 lines and under contract activity right there. That's 23 and 22 plus the 10-year pre-COVID average. And so what we see for under contract activity is right around that 2,500 mark as far as properties that are going under contract within Chicago. And then on the new listing side, you can see though that we are still significantly under where the average is. And so you still have it being a really high seller's market. But buyers are starting to become much more comfortable, and it's starting to converge back to where our 10-year average is. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the information I think everyone really finds probably the most valuable, because it's how do you apply all of those other graphs into the specific neighborhoods. So it's broken up into top 5 Northside neighborhoods by appreciation, condo, single family, and 2 to 4 units. See quite a few there that you probably recognize. What I think is really, really interesting is like how Lincoln Park is seeing such a large appreciation there, 29%. Jason and I were talking about that yesterday, and really you can find properties in Lincoln Park potentially that are very close to the 1% rule, which is just very, very unique in an A-class area. So something to note there. And then top 5 Southside Southside neighborhoods as well. A lot of ones that you recognize there, but some really good numbers. All of this is on the neighborhood report, which is by the entrance. Might that up. There's copies there for you guys. Gives a full listing of 77 neighborhoods. So, and you want any of this information? Jason sends this stuff out monthly. So just subscribe to it. Send me an email. Take this number down. Whatever you want. You can reach out to me. My name is Jordan again. Instagram Jordan Chai and Jordan at Crystal. So
Beautiful.
thanks, guys.
Hey.
Looking at one thing, that kind of one thing, but the purchase price and then we monthly benefit. The tax rate I need to part. So that well, what's the right to modify the actual tax be much lower than what it's tax.
All of that should be kind of included in your numbers. So like 1% should look at rents. Well, I guess how we look at it then we'll get to our rents, interest, taxes, and your any other expenses.
Well, right, in your 1% rule is just saying your purchase price is $1 million, you're gonna get 10 G's and 10 grand in rent. It's that simple. So yeah, it has nothing. Yeah. So it's just saying, what's your rent? What's your purchase price? And that's just an indicator that it's going to be in the right realm, it's,
But Green Park is much more taxes than any other neighborhood, so that way.
yeah, it's just an indicator. So it really doesn't have much to do with the PIT. I just read the purchase price.
I was saying that, and what indicators on Great Green Park, when we actually progress the numbers in, it won't be near that.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure true. I think anyone who's buying in Lincoln Park isn't buying for cash flow. They're buying for 29% appreciation and, doubles in value and whatever. If you can afford to buy in Lincoln Park, like Greg, so. But no, Jordan, thank you so much, guys. I love having these guys here. They do such a great job at giving us data. There's nothing I've been not so good at besides using data in my past. And so one of the things I'm always focused on in the future is making sure I back my decisions with data. I'm super excited to have Greg and Jennie here. I actually love these guys. I'm actually super surprised I haven't had them here sooner. I don't think there's another group in Chicago that I've been more happier like collaborating with. We really kind of like got our journey started at similar times, and kind of our relationship is the definition of abundance. Because when we first met, I almost was almost intimidated because we were kind of doing some of the same stuff, same projects. And once you get out of that scarcity mindset that there's just way more than enough for all of us, that, we're all growing together. And so it's just been beautiful to see these guys grow and help us grow. And it's just been an awesome relationship. So I'm super happy to have you guys here. Maybe I can just have you guys do a brief introduction about yourselves. So I can ask you a couple questions.
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. That's so sweet. My name is Jennie Berger, and I have been involved in real estate for maybe, oh my gosh, 3.5 years. So I feel like a baby. Before I met this guy, actually, I had zero experience in any kind of real estate investing, construction, rehabbing. I was a TV producer for 8 years. I was a yoga teacher for a while and just had a totally different path. But since we started, I've found a deep passion for new construction and designing homes, and just really kind of like discovering and nurturing my passion to connect with people. So that's, networking, home sellers, clients, buyers, all around. Yeah, that was kind of a mouthful.
My name is Greg Kyler. I'm a GC/project manager for the business. And I started off in construction at 18. So I've been doing this for 26 years now, 26 years. So started got in the union, started building houses, and then started my own business at 24. And then just grew from there, building houses, restaurants, apartment complexes. And then decided I wanted to go a different way and get in the investment side. And I met Jennie and we teamed up, and here we are in Chicago, buying properties and developing them and building new construction. And I have my son joining the company now. He's going to be project management assistant, and hopefully I can retire in Florida soon and he just takes it over.
And thank you for having us, by the way. It's
Yeah,
very,
of
very
course.
kind of you.
Yeah, so their company, Property People, new development. Your first two projects, I remember we bid on them, or maybe I think you guys did a couple of projects before that, but that was your first ground up project on Keeler. Is it Keeler?
Leland.
Leland.
Yeah, close.
So can we zoom out and kind of give us a perspective of where you guys are at right now with your business? And then we can kind of go back to the beginning on how it started.
Yeah. So today we primarily focus on ground up construction of single family homes and small multi-unit buildings. So like 3 or 4 unit buildings. That's where we are today, and what we're really trying to like hone in on and fine tune and get better at, so that we can scale that part and then maybe grow into larger projects. But that's kind of where we are right now, that, for the active development side.
Yeah, so you guys have done several ground up construction, some single family, some 4 unit buildings, mostly on the north side of Chicago. And when you guys got started, I love the idea, first of all, that, we all, if we didn't start in real estate like Julio and Trenton, we all started doing something else. And more than likely, there's some practicality to what we were already doing, to what we want to do. And we just kind of have to find what that niche is within real estate to apply those skills. So man, I love the idea that they came together, perfect partnership, producing design type of stuff and more on the ground, hammer swinging type of person. And those types of partnerships are the ones that we need to be looking for, who can complement exactly what we're doing. So when you guys got started, can we go way, way back? I know you guys started with Fortune Builders, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little about why you got into it? And was that your first exposure to real estate?
I mean, I think me and Jenny were both thinking we wanted to get into real estate, but we didn't have like the kick in the butt get going. And so we saw that pop up and we're like, let's try this one day, free seminar. And we went there and they gave us a free spreadsheet. And that's all I needed was just that confidence. Like, I know the numbers, I can build anything, but I didn't know the numbers on the investment side, like the taxes we were going to pay the city and like the transfer stamps, all that stuff.
It was like a deal analysis spreadsheet. Yeah.
So they gave us that free sheet and we went and bought 2 houses off that sheet. And then we went to the 3-day seminar after that and they said, I hope nobody went and bought houses with that sheet we gave you.
The sheet was missing some key
Yeah.
information, but it was like a free sheet, it wasn't the paid sheets.
Yeah, it ended up being very good for us. They're great investments as a bank-owned house and then a hoarder house. So it was interesting properties, our first investments, but they worked out good.
And so would you guys recommend, so Fortune Builders, it's kind of like a real estate mastermind group, just like, my friend Adrian Holmes has Chicago REIA, you pay him a certain amount of money, usually a hefty chunk. Would you guys advise someone who's getting started to go down that route, or how did you know that was right for you?
I think it was what we needed at that time, but I think people could do it a cheaper way, like kind of find mentors, like in these groups like this, you get the same opportunities that we got out of the investment we made. So, but I feel like it was a good investment for us and it would be right for some people, but if you don't have the money, then I think you can find other ways.
On that first deal, was there any very specific fear you guys had getting going?
No, Jenny just jumped right behind me. She's like, this one's good, let's get it.
Honestly, I had zero idea what we were doing, and that can be a good, a pro and a con. I think at that time it worked to our favor, because if I had any reservations or knew a little bit about the business, I probably would have put up all of these, barriers, like why we can't do this, and no, this is too expensive and this is too risky. I'm not a huge risk taker and I'm not ultra conservative. I'm kind of in the middle. But the fact that I didn't know anything at the time and Greg had all this experience and he said, hey, we can do this. We can gut rehab this, no problem. I'm like, fine, let's do it. I don't even know what a gut rehab is, but let's do it.
The scariest part was we didn't know how to do comps on our own, as we relied on a realtor to tell us what can we sell this property for if we buy it. We had no idea. So that was the scariest part for me moving, but I knew it was going to cost to remodel it. I knew like running the project was no problem. It's just we trusted the realtor to tell us what we could sell.
And did you guys leverage some of the connections in Fortune Builders when you were getting going? Like, is that how you found your realtor, or how did you kind of make your first connections in networking wise? Because you didn't have like a networking group like this or anything.
No, our first connection to our realtor was before we moved to Chicago, because Greg's from the suburbs and I lived in Tennessee for 10 years. And we met in Tennessee while he was on a project and decided, let's move to Chicago together and do this real estate thing. We hooked up with a realtor to find to find us potentially a place to live. So we found this condo that was listed, and I don't know if she was the list agent or the buyer, that pops up like on Zillow. They always have like a recommended realtor that you contact. It might've been that way. So we hooked up with her, and then we just kind of established that relationship with her. Didn't buy the condo, but we just got to talking and told her what we were looking for. And so she was on the hunt for properties for us, and she brought us our first 2 gut rehabs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I'm a ready, fire, aim type of person, and
Fire, then aim.
fire. Yeah.
Okay.
Ready, fire, aim. Yeah. That she got it. No one else did. But for me, it was super helpful. And I know if I would have had different groups to bounce more ideas off of, my deals probably would have been better. But there's also that just gut instinct of like, I got to do something. And I don't think there's anything more important than actually taking action to get a deal done. I know so often it's so easy to run into the analysis paralysis and is this deal going to work or that deal going to work? And there's just nothing more important than getting the experience. So I kind of wanted to jump to your cool project, Roxy. Is it okay if we talk a little bit about her?
Roxy's a sore subject. Yeah, we can talk about Roxy.
Well,
She has a great name.
Sore subjects are the best ones to talk about for everyone to learn, I'd say.
Sure.
So can you give us kind of a breakdown on the deal itself, how you found the deal, how you funded the deal, construction, and then I'll have some more questions after that.
Yeah, Roxy, well, so Roxy is named after 2820 North Rockwell Street. So we named her Roxy kind of, a few months after we broke ground. This deal was brought to us by one of our realtor connections, a different realtor that we had established a relationship with a few years prior and had brought us some other deals. She saw something come across either Top Agent Network or private listing. It was a shovel-ready project, basically, in Avondale. The developer had bought the property, torn it down, gotten the plans for a 4-unit building, and was waiting for the building permit to be issued. It was a very long process. He decided he didn't want to do the project anymore himself. So, listed it on one of these platforms or 2 of these platforms. And she brought it to us and said, hey, here's a shovel-ready project. It's a 4-unit in Avondale. Are you interested? So we looked at the plans and we drove by the area and we said, yes. And that's what we did. We bought that, went under contract December 2021. Didn't get the permit till March 31st of 2022, but didn't close until the permit was issued. So that was how we got the deal. We had a capital partner, so an equity partner on that for the cash, that we were bringing to the table. And then we had a hard money lender, Renovo Financial, who's one of our best capital partners, fund all of the, the balance of the purchase and most of the construction or all of the construction costs.
So as far as acquisition of land, how much was that?
That was $675.
$675. That's a boatload of money.
That
for
included
somebody.
the plans, included the permit.
Yeah, and so shovel ready, I think that's a easy term to not understand, at least for me.
Okay.
And so shovel ready, can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so you have a piece of vacant land and plans are in place, permits in place. You're ready to go. All you just need to do right now is actually step on the land and, break the ground, right? Everything is ready to go, as opposed to buying a piece of land with a property on it and you have to go through demolition and you have to go through creating the plans for the design for the project, working with the architect, submitting paperwork to the city, waiting for the permit. So it's just it's a turnkey development ready project or property, if you will.
And so, question real quick? Sure, go ahead. That was gonna be my next question.
Good question.
That's one of the
We
downsides.
should've.
Yeah, can't you make changes, gotta go back to zoning, and they were in zoning and going through the building part for a year on this project, so we didn't want to mess with that. I made changes, obviously, that I could get away without raising red flags, but we couldn't change too many things.
So yes, on site, we did make some changes that we could, but to the plans, no, because that going back through that whole process could be many, many more months.
What's the typical premium for buying like a plot of land with no plans and nothing is final land versus financed already? What's the typical premium for paying?
The time it takes to get permits and the plans done is typically like 3 to 6 months, if you don't have to go through zoning or variances, changes like that, so.
So,
You mean-
yeah, so
you
you,
know,
so you might be between 15 and 30,000. It would be my rough guess.
I think my answer is it's going to depend on your hold time too. And obviously the cost of the plans. It's, this property was held by the previous developer for a year. And that's a long time. You can do it much quicker if you make different decisions in the planning process and, go the self-certified route, let's say, with your architect instead of full plan review, which can take many more months than the self-certified process. So I don't know that there is like an actual number that you can put on that. Because there's so many variables.
The plans and permits and the whole time is gonna be, depending on, he held it for a year, so the plans and permits were maybe 30,000. Then the whole time.
Maybe,
He had a loan on that property he bought, so we don't know what it is, but it
yeah.
could be decent amount of money.
So we're gonna tackle the last of the questions at the end, just because it's a little bit easier. Otherwise, we'll get derailed for a long time. And so totally my fault for accepting the first one. But so with the end project, your construction costs and timeline, what was that roughly?
Like 9 months, once we got permits, and then it was 1.4 million on that one, 1.4 million.
Yes.
It's an 8,400 square foot building, then it had a garage to add on top of that, so with a rooftop deck, so you gotta add that in the square.
Oh.
Yeah, can you raise your
So-
voice?
So
Here.
build cost on that one was around 1.4 million, and the building was 8,400 square feet, and then we had a all brick garage and a rooftop deck, so that was, we had to add that square footage onto that too. I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but it was 1.4 million was our total build cost for home. And it was 9 months from start to finish, 9 months.
So did you guys didn't have much trouble with your schedule? Because that's still pretty fast, more or less, you know.
Not fast enough for Jenny.
I'd say it's a decent time for that many amount of square footage.
No, and we move pretty good. We have a good system down and we do fast.
Yeah, so I mean, you're all in at what, 1.4 plus 7 is 2.1 on the back end. How did it look for your sales?
That's where, so our material price jumped on this. We should have been lower in the build cost, but this is right in the middle of the material skyrocketed. Honestly, we were able to keep it at 10%, but a lot of people were seeing like raises of, it went up 20% on their build cost. So we had build cost went up, and then we got stuck in a niche where everybody considers Avondale, which we were like right on the border of Logan Square and Avondale. So everybody considers Avondale, which brings the values down quite a bit, and we ended up selling for, I'll leave that to the realtor.
So just to give a little bit of like quick facts for numbers. So we underwrote the deal at a build cost of 1.25 million. We ended up spending over 1.4 million, so almost 1.45. So we were over about $200,000 over budget on construction costs. Part of that was our fault for things that we didn't know we needed for a 4-unit building. And part of that was just hyperinflation with contractor labor and materials. As far as sales, we underwrote the deal to sell the property, sell those units, not too far away from where we actually sold them. But because we had spent $200,000 more on construction, we tried to go in at a higher price point on the sales. And so we started higher on the list price initially to try to just like recover some of those funds, because we knew where we were going to end up if we didn't. And we had to do a bunch of price drops. We did a couple of, take it off the market, put it back on as a new listing, drop until finally we got into a category where, the buyer for Avondale for this type of unit was satisfied with that floor plan and that price. So the sales price, ultimately, they weren't that far off from initial underwriting, but because of our construction budget, we were just hoping to sell for more.
Yeah, so I think that like ties back into the velocity of money, right? Hindsight, you would have probably listed it at a lower price to get it sold to move on to the next project.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Finish
Yeah.
it a little lower level,
Yeah.
like that. So there's several things we could have done if we had known, like hindsight, that obviously that where we're selling the build cost, we'd have lowered the build costs one way or another, or kept their pricing lower when we put them on the market.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the tougher times in the last 10 years to do your first 4-unit ground up 900 square foot development. So, I mean, like we said earlier, getting the experience is probably the most important thing so that you can go repeat that with all of your lessons learned and get the money to the next project. You guys have another project right now that you're working on in Lakeview. Is that correct?
Yeah, and on Rockwell too, one of the mistakes we made is being a GC.
Roxy.
Roxy, on Roxy.
Everybody knows her as Roxy already.
Biggest mistake is working with an investor. This is our first time working with an investor. So we split the profits 50-50 with the investor, but we didn't pay ourselves GC fee to do this whole project. So we lost out on that money. So that was a big loss for us on that one.
That was an underwriting mistake
Yeah.
on our behalf, and that will never happen again. So when he says investor, he's talking about our capital partner, our equity partner. So we have to bring, let's say, 15 to 20% cash equity to the deal, and then our hard money lender or our bank lender will do the rest. So for that 15 to 20%, it was between us and our equity partner, and we decided to have, like he said, a 50-50 split on the profit side, and we didn't build in a GC fee for us to just cover our overhead. We were covering our overhead expenses and our management stuff from just past savings, from past profits. And that went really quickly, and that was not a good thing. Don't ever do that.
Should be figured into the build cost, basically, a GC
Yeah.
fee. Now we do that. We didn't on the first one, so we learned.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes tons of sense, right? And then because you guys were both GPs on the project, right? You guys were both general partners, and so you didn't have any limited partners. So basically, you structured your 2 million all in. He brought whatever it was, 200,000. You guys didn't have any money into the deal, more or less, correct?
We had a lot of money in
We
the
had money
deal.
in the deal.
You guys had money
Yeah,
into the deal
we
as
were a
well.
75-25. So he was
Okay.
a 75% contributor. We were a 25% contributor. Plus, we ran the whole project and covered all of our overhead expenses.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that was a
Yeah.
good deal for the investor,
You
for
was
sure.
very happy.
The capital
Get
partner.
happy at the end of the day.
At the end of the deal, and just, to close the loop, our hard money lender got paid back in full, and of course, got all their interest payments throughout the course of construction. Our equity partner got paid back in full and made some money, and we made the wee tiniest bit of money. So we didn't actually lose money in the sense of like, we're in the red, but all the time and all the effort that you put in, not being compensated on, with an amount that you feel is warranted, that was just the biggest strike to the heart.
Yeah, our worst deal, we didn't lose money, so that's a good thing, I think. It's a win.
Yeah, for sure it's a win. And you're on to the next project,
Yeah.
which you'll have your GC fee written in, and none of the same mistakes will happen. I think that's like the biggest takeaway from everyone's journey is as long as they can not do the mistakes they had done on the last job, the next job will be that much more successful.
Yeah.
You hope.
Yeah, we changed this profit split, and we also have a GC fee in this one, so we learned definitely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So kind of like slowly wrapping things up, as far as like doing what you do and being developers, do you guys kind of feel like you found your passion in what you're doing now, where you wake up every day, you're excited to go to work? Can you like describe what that feeling was like from, transitioning from being your own general contractor and being in the production space to kind of like slowly navigating your way to your passion, and what that kind of like feels like once you get there?
We're gonna have different answers, right?
Me, I was on the hamster wheel, being a GC, I was on a hamster wheel chasing money all the time. If I stopped running, I'd stop making money. So I wanted to find a different way to go about doing the same thing I did, just in a different direction. And I love it. I love what I'm doing. Once we grow this business and it gets to where I want to be, I'm not gonna be working on the job sites anymore. Right now, I'm doing some work on the job sites. I won't be doing that, but I think in the long term, I'm going the direction I want. And I think it's great. I love where I'm at right now.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a person that just follows their heart. So pretty much everything I've done in my life, whether it was working in the restaurant industry for 14 years or working as a copywriter at an ad agency for a year, TV production for 8 years, yoga teacher, I've loved and been passionate about everything that I've done. If I found myself ever doing work that I wasn't passionate about, I probably stayed for a week or two and then I was out, or I didn't even start it. That's just me. That's how I was raised. I wasn't raised to like go after big money, big job. It was more of like, well, what does your heart want? What makes you happy? So the answer is, I absolutely love what I do. I love what we do. I love the development side. I love designing, but I also really discovered a passion for midterm furnished rentals. So like, not short-term rentals, but buying rental properties and then furnishing them and then renting them out on a 30+ day stay basis to, corporate travelers, relocating families, insurance claims, displaced families. That's been a niche that I've discovered in the last year or so that I really, really love and would like to do more of.
So is that something you grew up with, finding your passion? Because I feel like that's, some of our, hardest thing to do in our life is to realize, oh, I'm doing something I don't want to do. I'm going to pivot to doing something I enjoy. Was that like part of your family growing up, or like, how did you become someone who has always done something they love? That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think I've been really just blessed to have the upbringing that I had. My mom and dad were both business owners, and raised me with kind of like an entrepreneurial spirit, but also just let me try a lot of things, you know? So if I wanted to try ballet classes, they would put me in a ballet class. And if I loved it, I would continue. And if I didn't, they wouldn't force me to stay. Maybe then I wanted to do Taekwondo. Maybe I wanted to do piano lessons, theater. I mean, I tried a lot of things growing up, and my parents allowed that because I think they knew that that was the only way to really discover what it is you truly love. Don't lock yourself into one thing just because, you know, we've paid for this, or you've already now put a year in, you can't quit. It just wasn't like that. And so that's all my parents. I've just got lucky.
I was raised the opposite. When I was raised, you pick something, you just work hard and you get better at it. I've been doing the same thing my whole life. So just two different people, but in the same path, really. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents did such a good job, and my mom especially, of making sure I was in every single sport possible and just trying something different, whether it's music, whether it's sports. But then my dad, very W-2 mindseted person who's on the call, you know, he worked somewhere for 30 years straight, you know, so I think it was probably, you know, challenging for me to figure out that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do forever and making that transition. But I think the sooner you can determine that, the easier it is, you know, as life goes on and you're 45 or 50 or 60 and you have kids, you know, you should still do it and you should still switch. But that mindset, you know, in your brain, you've built those neurons that, you know, make it hard for change, and you're resistant to change because it's a skill and ability to adapt, to be able to change and be flexible and adaptable. So I meet you guys at a coffee shop. I'm brand new in development. Like, what's your best tip of advice to someone who's getting into the real estate development business? Because I see everyone on the bigger pockets, they want to get into development. You know, what do you tell them to do?
I told my son, go get your real estate license first thing. Get that, and it helps. One, on like down payment for a property helps you. You get money back, like incentives when you buy a property. I really didn't discover that until recently with Jennie. Like, we get a license and we started buying properties, and we got money back on, what is it called?
Commission?
No, not the commission, but we get the credit. Yeah,
Oh.
credit when we buy properties. So that's a big advantage. So I'd say get your real estate license, and I don't know.
For me, I would say, and this is what I would apply to anything that you want to get involved in that's new. I would say, find some people that are in that space and just tell them you'll go and get them coffee every day. You don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. I just want to be in this space. I want to connect to the people in this space. I want to learn about this space. And that's what I did with TV production, because I had no background in it. I just told the production company, I was like, look, I'll research and I'll get you coffee. I'll do whatever. I want to get into the TV production world. And that's how I got my job. So I think that, you know, you don't have to say, I'll go get you coffee, but something along those lines of, find some people that you think you might be interested in working with in that space. And then just, you know, tell them what you can do that would make their life easier, you know, where you can provide value. Even just something as simple as getting coffee or taking photos. You know, if you're good at social media, maybe you'll do videos or photos of their job site, and you'll do little posts or reels. I mean, there's always a way to get involved. And I would say that would be my advice.
Yeah, I echo both of those. I got my real estate license. It was a blessing. Being able to put that 2.5% towards the project is really, really, really nice, especially if you do a FHA 203K loan and you have 3.5% to put down, and now you only have 1% to make up for a down payment. You know, it's an amazing thing how much leverage you can get with something like that. And yeah, networking and partnering. I don't think there's a way to scale or grow your business faster than partnering. I think I learned a long time ago that I couldn't do it on my own. And so teaming up, even if it's on social media with you guys, has been amazing. And so, yeah, I always encourage everyone to, you know, once we're done, make sure you come up and talk to these two. They are experienced professionals in the development game. And so if you're interested, they're the person to come mentor with. As far as, you know, everyone here and everyone online, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you guys?
You can follow us on Instagram. We're Property People LLC. We do a lot of posting and sharing there. We have a website. It's mainly targeted towards like homeowners, home sellers. but propertypeoplellc.com, and then email is info@propertypeoplellc.com. I would say Instagram is probably the best way though to connect with us and stay in touch and kind of follow along with our projects.
If you want to connect with me, you got to come on the job site and track me down.
Yeah, so we definitely connected through Instagram. Our company is Quality Builders Inc. on Instagram. You guys will see us collaborating, and we always really appreciate anyone liking, sharing, following us, and can't thank you guys enough for being here. And yeah, like I said, just continue to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think the rule is like 95% of people are scared to walk up and talk to someone. So if you can be the 5% that walks up to someone, you're going to be a much more confident person, and it's a skill that you have to build. And it's just like riding a bike. The more you walk up to them, easier it's going to get.
Can I add something really practical? I just thought of the answer to your question about meeting in a coffee shop, talking, you want to get in the development space. I think, and this is coming from a place of realizing where we really fall short sometimes, just us as a small developer in the city. We need help in certain areas that it's hard to sometimes get help in for one reason or another, without just hiring someone full time, which is something that we can't always do right away. But something like I mentioned social media, offering to help with the social media, but also maybe just coming and offering to run and get some materials here and there. That's a huge thing for any, GC developer on site. If you don't have someone that just runs and gets materials, and you don't have a service that brings you materials, you could be so valuable. You get experience and exposure to the site and to how the whole thing goes. And, you run back and forth to some stores, maybe a couple days a week, and you grab little pieces of material here and there, you bring it to the site. And then, I was just thinking that's another kind of very practical way to get involved. I know that takes time, and not everybody has the time for that, but it just depends on your level of motivation and, really how involved you want to be in development and how much that's really something that you want to do.
Yeah, I think usually there's the saying, right? You have either time, money, or experience. Usually when you're getting started, you got more time. You definitely don't got no money, and you probably don't got any experience. So you should use your time as much as you can. So we're going to open it up to some questions. I'll make sure I try and repeat the question so that way everyone can hear it online. Did you have a question you want to start with, Sean? Sean. I'm trying so hard.
The pool shark.
It's like Sean with, yeah. Sean.
So 2 questions. One, for the shovel-ready project, what was the motivation? Because was it to get that first 2 to 4 units done? Or did you believe that, okay, this is actually a good project, it would go in the city for a while?
Okay, so yeah, so the question really is just for that project Roxy, what was the motivation to take the shovel ready project opposed to maybe finding their own land somewhere else or doing a different deal?
It was one, the numbers looked good on paper at that time with the building cost where it was. But 2, it was also, the plans were done. We're going to save a lot of time having to go through that process. We can jump right in. So it was a combo of that. The numbers are always the first thing we look at no matter what the project is. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between buying a crappy house, renovating it, and then renting it out versus just buying something that's turnkey. And if you're in my space, furnishing it and then renting it out. I know there's a lot of value add when you buy something crappy and you renovate it yourself. Your numbers look better, I'd say, in the short term, but the ease of buying a turnkey new construction home, furnishing it and then renting it out with the strategy that I use is very appealing to me. Yeah.
Then my second question, for the general contractor fees, could you have baked it in the odd money? Basically, if I'm going to go to the bank and say, okay, I want 2 million, that 2 million could that only include, let's say, 300,000 K of the general contractor fees, but then it's, I guess, difference is what's actually needed to buy.
Yes. Yeah. So the question is just with the GC fee, when you're going to get your loan, that cost should and can be baked into your sworn statement. So you're getting paid and to your investors.
Even if we do 10%, which is, that covers our cost of doing everything, pays us a decent amount while we're doing the project. That's what it should be. It should be into the build cost already through the loan with the loan.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
All right.
On the Rocks project, you guys mentioned that
building construction costs went up like 10%, you're saying somewhat like 20%. As a developer, is that always on you guys to pay that difference? Like I know you get into the Novo covers and the construction costs. And projects like that, construction prices, the building prices go up, obviously, is that always on the developer?
Yeah, so the question's just who that inflation, that uptick cost goes to, whether it's the developer, the contractor, your investor, or your lender.
Well, after that happened, a lot of people started putting it in their contracts that if inflation jumps as much, the owners got to kick in some money, you know, so. But we're all of it, we're everything that puts money in, we're the developer, we're all of the above, so we were stuck flipping the bill for that.
We did have enough, so when we underwrote the deal and our hard money lender did the appraisal, like the AR, after repair value appraisal, the appraisal was so high, that estimate, that we had so much kind of a built-in buffer, so that when we did find out that our build costs had gone up so much, we were able to get more money from the lender. But that still makes us responsible to have to pay that plus the loan fees back.
Got it.
Yeah.
Brad? Yeah.
So Matt and Roxy, you mentioned that you found out some things that you didn't know you needed for like a 4 unit. Did you touch on what some of those extra items were?
Yeah, so just a couple items you missed on Roxy, what were they?
The steel, well, if I was involved in the design process, I wouldn't have so much steel in this building. They had too much steel, too oversized, so that cost us more money than I expected. And then another thing would have been the sprinkler system wasn't on the plan, and so we didn't know we were going to get nailed with that. Like we thought they had already made it through this far in the process, we shouldn't have to do it, and we got hit with that at the end. That was another $25,000 item.
Intercom system.
Which is not, that's only like $2,500, but yeah.
No, it was
like-
about $6,000.
that's-
Actually, it was more than that. Yeah.
That
It
was
was
25, 6,000.
And it all adds up. You know, you say, oh, it's just $2,500. It's times 10. And what? Now you've got $40,000, $50,000 of unexpected expenses. Extra site cleanup, I think, was one thing, you know, like we always assume that there's post-construction cleaning and buyer move-in cleaning, but like site cleanup throughout the process was something that we didn't even build into our budget. I'm sure there were other things just escaping me. I'd have to look at my list. But yeah, those are probably the biggest things.
You just pay laborers for like setting up then.
Yeah, we have crews.
Miscellaneous people. Yeah. If you want to come and clean up the site, you can get involved that way too. That's a good way to get in.
How does it work with the mortgage as far as when you're splitting land and splitting condos, as far as when you're selling them off?
With the mortgage?
Yeah, so when you borrow more money, there's gonna be a lien on, say the land, but when you sell off the condos, how exactly does that work as far as title and leasing?
The lender gets paid back first, but I think there would still be a partial lien on the rest of the units, you know, as the way Jenny might know more than that.
If I think you answered it, that you sell one condo, the lender gets paid back, you sell the next condo, the lender gets paid back, you sell the next lender, and eventually at the end, hopefully on the fourth condo, you have profit, right? So lender gets paid back in full first, and then you start to take your profits. Does that answer?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the mortgage or the lien, you know, gets released after it's paid back in full.
Yeah, it's not like they get split if you have 4
No.
condos or anything.
No, we don't get anything until it's all
Follow-up
said
to
and
that.
done.
So let's say you pay back the lenders after selling out the condos. So do you own the land? Or who owns the land after that? Because you sold out the condo, but the condo sits on the land.
Yes, so the question is just who owns the land, right? Yeah, so
The HOA would, like, we set up an HOA and they take it over, the people buying the units, so they would own the land in the building.
Okay.
yeah. All right, Alan.
It's a good question.
So question is, why would you have to put a sprinkler system in a 4-unit building?
Codes change on a daily basis in Chicago. They decided that anything over 3 units, they're gonna make you get put a sprinkler system in. Yeah, hall everywhere, the individual units and the common areas everywhere.
So this is that's what it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm guessing that we said that
in a masonry building. It's made not even wood, not even a wood structure, masonry building, yeah.
you did it 3 steps.
Yeah,
They're not sprinkler heads hanging out, so.
no, they're like a covers on them, you know, the cast, they pop off.
That's. I don't know. Put up with that.
Yeah, I survived. Yeah, it's a new code, I guess. If it's over 3 units, they're gonna make you do it. So, and then you gotta upgrade the water line, which, goes from like 2 inch to 4 inch or 6 inch. It could be, depending on the size of the building. So that's a big cost too.
Oh, that was another thing, the booster pump.
What's that? Final phase, the architect let us know, like, we asked him, I think I said, like, it's not on the plan, but I'm seeing Poe come through and saying we're gonna have to have them. He's like, yeah, I think they're gonna make us, but we'll find out. And we found out at the end, the city made it. I started seeing things, same thing, we're gonna have to do that. But we already had our build cost and everything figured out according to plans.
Oh,
I'm Paul Cogan, and I'm the lobbyist on behalf of the home building industry. And so these issues you're talking about, the city of Chicago, are things that I try to address all the time. So if you had your list of top 3 or 4 or 5 things that really need to be addressed from my standpoint, the industry, make your job easier, be it buildings, inspections, zoning, whatever, what would they be at the top of that list? What is
So-
the biggest problem?
yeah. So just what if top 3 list of biggest issues with the city and building
I
department?
think they need to get on the same page, like fire codes is the biggest thing, because that could be a big difference in cost to build something. So we're building one right now, and they wouldn't let us put the composite decking on the roof. You look at the building next to it, it's got composite decking on the whole roof, so it's like we had to do the papers, which is 2 to 3 times more money. So it's just little things like that. They just get on the same page and just stick to it for a while. It'd be nice,
Who required that? Buildings or zoning or?
The building, I don't know, probably zoning. Zoning is probably who determines that.
Sounds like a zoning.
Yeah,
Piss off.
yeah.
I think inspections would be better as well. I don't really deal with the inspections. Greg does, but I know that it's really difficult. Like you go to schedule one in the system and you get a confirmation that it's been requested. And you just never know when you're going to get an answer on when that inspection is confirmed for. It could arrive the morning of the inspection, and then you all of a sudden have to make sure that your electrician or your plumber or whoever is there on site and can be on site for the inspection. And that's a little bit frustrating. I think just a little bit more notice, a little bit more like communicating with the different departments and would be helpful. Also, if you could just revolutionize the plumbing inspection department with the city, that would be really helpful. I mean, they're just, I should probably shut up. Yeah, I should probably not say anything.
Yeah,
The inspections are bad because, like I'll schedule, like the last one I did all my rough inspections, schedule them all, and I got all the kickback emails saying like, you're in the system. And I request a day, like 3 or 4 weeks out. And there's one, I saw it, didn't get a kickback from it. So I checked the next day, didn't get one. I called and they don't return calls, they don't return emails.
Yeah.
So then I'm waiting, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put another one in the system. Well, that messes things up sometimes. So I put it in there, I don't get a kickback again. And then I did this for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like, I don't know who to call, who to get a hold of, find out if I'm in the system.
This was the electrical.
Yeah, this is electrical, and they're backed up like 4 weeks. So 3 weeks, I was trying to schedule inspection, and they're backed up 4 weeks to get an inspection. So that was a big problem.
yeah. I'll echo inspections. I think the system is just archaic, we still have to sign, they still have to sign a piece of paper, there's no reason for that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the timeline and inspections, and then the consistency with inspectors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we just had a project where we did fix some rough framing inspections. We didn't fix everything. The next guy had no issue with it. So it's just kind of,
Yep.
it's just not very consistent across the board.
Throwing the alignment between what's actually put in the plans and what the inspection might do. So like, in the plans, and like, well, I'm inspecting the town hall. And you have that happen a lot too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been pretty good on that with us. If it's on the plan and we do it, they work with us on that. They're not too bad in the city. Like this last one we did, we had to have vents that are self-closing. If there's a fire, the heating vents got to close. And so they've never even seen the inspectors. Like, I've never seen them make people do this. I don't know why they're making you do this. Well, and those are expensive to add in. So we had to add in those throughout the whole building. The next building, they didn't require that.
That was Roxy.
Yeah,
There's another thing, unexpected.
yeah.
Didn't know we had to have those.
Well,
Anything else? Do you have a question?
I guess just retrospect, like for design, when it didn't, like, with that, I see one with a lot of that we indicated that it's been, when progress, things we pass, so we're just like, having a full design of the space, we don't have to require.
Yeah, so the question was just with Roxy, because it was shovel ready, you already had plans and permits ready. would it have been hindsight more beneficial to go back and redesign those plans and resubmit?
No, not to go back in time and start, but to start from scratch with it and for us to design it from scratch. I mean, I can't say for sure that it would have saved us $200,000 because nobody knew what was happening or going to happen in the economy. But I think it definitely, we would have designed a little bit of a different floor plan. And we would have not had so many stairs and so much structural steel or steel. And so
Or like balconies, they had huge balconies on these small units, you know, the balcony was a third the square footage of the unit.
yeah, we would have made changes that I think would have been beneficial in the long run, but there's no way to put a number on, you know, whether we would have sold them for more or not spent as much in construction. That's tough.
Last question, Mr. Wonderful.
So, having done full gut renovations and, new development, what are some of the gotchas that you would say on the new development side? Just asking because having done rehabs, it seems, the new development always sounds sexier, you're hoping for more money, but I'm sure there's, some gotchas on the other side. So what are some of those?
So the question is just kind of deciphering between new construction versus gut renovation. Is there things you love about gut renovations versus new construction?
No, nothing. So new construction is just you're buying a lot more materials. So if your material price changes, you're really going to get hit. Where remodels, you're not buying as many like brick and the more, all the main structure, you're not buying as much of that. So if price changes in materials, we really get hit by it. With the remodel side, like the water line and sewer, the inspector come in, like, you got to put a new water line in here. That's 20,000-30,000, and sewer line, that's another 20,000-30,000. I don't like that, like not knowing. Our stuff's brand new. We know what we're getting. Just the material prices we really got to watch.
Yeah, I'd echo, yeah, new construction a little bit easier. I would say the entitlement process is probably the riskier part, right? Getting the land, making sure you have your zoning correct, going through your plans and permitting, it can just be a little bit longer than you expect for that entitlement process. All right, well, these guys are still going to be up here. You got to come talk to him. Landon's here, so if you need a lender, make sure you talk to A&N. I really appreciate you guys coming. I love you guys, and thank you so much.
Oh, we love you.